Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Kanto Zapdos today. This is something that was supposed to be done actually yesterday, but with the rise of the tournament-winning Articuno team, I felt like I had to do that one first. But now we're going to go into Zapdos here, which I think is the more meta-viable of the three original 150 Pokemon legendary birds. So Zapdos was a cool option, right, back in Sword and Shield, especially during Dynamax. You had really strong max Airstreams, you had really strong max Lightnings, yeah, and then you got to see it on a lot of Kyogre teams just because Kyogre would bring the rain, and then Zapdos now has a very strong Hurricane, and it's also 100% accurate in that sense, right? But there's no Dynamax now, so Zapdos kind of changes in terms of its role. First of all, it has a really cool ability called Static. Of course, when you make contact, you have a chance to paralyze the opponent, which is good, right? Because not only can you have a chance of getting those paralysis hacks, but in essence, when you paralyze them, speed control, right? Because their speed gets cut in half. All right, you look at the speed tier, base 100s. So basically, think of Chi-Yu, all right, another base 100 Pokemon. Think of Volcarona, Salamence. These are all Pokemon. Charizard. These are all Pokemon within the same tier, and they all cap at 167. If they have the speed nature, right? And remember with our video previously, not in the Articuno one, but the other video where we were talking about a little bit of math in terms of the speed tier. If you want to outspeed base 100s, you need a minimum of 112, because 112 times 1.5 will be able to get you past 167 into that 168 range, right? But anyway, I digress. So what is Zapdos' role this time around in Scarlet and Violet? Well, most people are opting to play it a little bit more bulky in the sense with the Rocky Helmet. So this way you're getting good chip damage against a lot of those physical options, right? Imagine Urshifu trying to go for surging strikes or whatnot. Chien-Pao, same thing. They try and click their their target moves, but then they get hit with the Rocky Helmet and it does pretty good damage against them. So Zapdos can be bulky in the sense, right? If you look at its HP, base 90 HP, 85 defense, and then special defense also 90. It's actually a relatively solid bulky Pokemon, and then you can EV it where you're going to make it a little bit slower, but you're going to make it modest nature, and then from there you're going to make it a little bit of damage, right? Of course, but most of your investments will be done into HP and split in terms of its defenses, and then a little bit of speed. Now that being said, we do have a damage calc in mind in terms of a physical damage calc that we're going to show you in a second when we do the team building. But the idea is this: you're able to play a relatively bulky Zapdos this time around, and that's a really good role for it. It gets Thunderbolt, of course, good single target electric move, great into Urshifu Water, right? That's also really nice. Great into Genie's not named Landorus. Okay, so there's that, and then you also get access to Roost, right? So just like Articuno, you're able to just recover, and then at the end, just have a one-on-one scenario in the end game where you're just clicking attacks and then clicking Roost over time, and just healing up. But now you also get access to Tailwind, right, in this generation, which is actually really good, because now sometimes you can technically forego the Tornadus and just go with Zapdos as your Tailwind option, similar to how like Dragonite Tailwind kind of worked. So you can go with that idea. I've seen some teams go with like Garchomp, for example, and then you're just able to click Earthquake along with Discharge with your Zapdos. I've seen that combination already, but I don't think it's super great. It's just not as consistent as some of the other options. But I also want to bring things back to Sword and Shield just a little bit, but because what was the trademark team back in Series 9 in Sword and Shield that a lot of people utilize with Zapdos? This is what it was. It was Heatran, then it was Urshifu, right? Rapid Strike, and then Rillaboom, right? And then from there in the back end, you had Porygon 2, which is not legal now. It will be in the DLC, but not legal now. I'm just showing you what it was back then. And then you had Grimmsnarl in this last slot here. So basically what this team is saying is we're going to rely on screens, we're going to rely on bulk, and then from there, we're just going to chip things down with these homies, Urshifu, Heatran, and Rillaboom. The P2 will have this end game where it's just constantly clicking Recover, clicking Tri Attack, and then most times, more often than not, Zapdos is the Dynamax option of choice, clicking Max Airstreams, clicking Max Lightnings, right? This was the premier Series 9 team back in Sword and Shield. And we can kind of almost recreate this kind of a concept where you can still put Zapdos behind screens. All right, it's done relatively well. And then all of these do relatively well behind screens because they're all relatively bulky Pokemon. All right, now we don't have a Porygon 2, but we do have a Cresselia. All right, so you can go that route if you want. And then if at the end of the day, you can also just like add a Trick Room Sweeper to this team if you really, really want to. Like, I don't think you need Cress and Grimmsnarl necessarily. I think that's a little bit too passive, okay? Unless you can go this route where you're just clicking Lunar Blessing along with Calm Mind, right? And then from here, what you're saying is, I'm going to keep alternating Lunar Blessings and Calm Minds. I'm gonna get to +6, and then I'm just gonna be going for, you know, +6 Moonblast or, you know, +6 Psychic. Either way, it's the Porygon 2 concept, right? And you can kind of do that again here if you want to go this route. But there's a lot of different ways to try and use Zapdos this time around. And what we're going to do is show you those different kinds of options. And then from there, you know, just like give you ideas on how you the viewer, would like to play Zapdos. But at the very end of the day, in terms of our video, I really like this idea of just building around these three. You know, Zapdos complements them relatively well, okay? And you know, Zapdos is just like a really, really cool option just, you know, within the meta game. It's not something that it's going to be like in top 10, but like you'll definitely see it within top cuts and a lot of different tours and whatnot, because the tools that it can offer is quite good, right? And you can play it very, very differently depending on what you want. Like, you don't have to play it as a bulky, you know, Rocky Helmet set. You can definitely just do like a full offensive Life Orb set with Protect, okay? And then just like have Tailwind here, for example, or have someone else give the Tailwind, and then, you know, just sweep with the Zapdos, right? By the way, Zapdos gets access to Volt Switch, so if you also want to, you know, pivot it, you know, that's also an option. Just another way of trying to utilize Zapdos at the end of the day. It's got ground immunity, which is great. You know, there's a lot of ground types running around, especially like Ursaluna, like Landorus, these things. You know, Zapdos is a great pivot into them. You can't really hit those yourself unless you're going for the Hurricanes. But at the end of the day, it's always nice to have a flying option on the team. All right, but I digress. We're not going to be running Life Orb here. We are going to be running the Rocky Helmet. Okay, and we'll show you what this kind of build holds, you know, with these three. But before we finish this floor with the other two options and the rest of the team, what I do want to do is actually show you different ways where people have already used Zapdos to have great success in these tournaments, right? So let's take a look. Okay, so let's look at this tournament first. So let's look at the Beanie Brawl Regulation D Tour. Of course, again, this is one of those 120 plus player tournament. So we see a few Zapdos teams actually. We see one right here within the top 8 from Jontra. So utilizing the same core that we like, which is always really, really good anytime we have similarities in team building. But basically they have the same idea with Rapid Strike, Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Heatran. The Rillaboom is Assault Vest, the Urshifu is Mystic Water because the Focus Sash is on the Chien-Pao over here. Heatran is Leftovers with Substitute, that's your way around Trick Room, and then Flutter Mane is just good offense. And then the Zapdos is the Rocky Helmet variant with Thunderbolt, Tailwind, Roost, and Hurricane. So again, a very standard bulky Zapdos over here with, you know, relatively standard options overall. I'm not sure about the Chien-Pao here. Like, I understand, you know, it's good in making the Rillaboom and Rapid Strike. Urshifu relatively strong, you know, especially with priority Aqua Jets and whatnot. You know, I get that concept. I think we can go another Pokemon here. But hey, this also still works. I'm not saying it's bad. Of course, it's still very, very good. Chien-Pao is a good Pokemon. But I think I would like to use a different option here. But this is one way where it works. Then over here, we have the 10-1 Zapdos team from the Cobalt Tour. And there's a rental code, by the way, if you want to try out this Zapdos team. But it's another cool one. So this is saying, all right, we're going to go a different approach with the Fire, Water, Grass core. Let me just show you the Pokepaste in a second. If you want the rental, here it is, if you want to try it out. But what they're saying here is we're going to use Urshifu, Chi-Yu, and Amoongus as our Fire, Water, Grass options. So this way with the Chi-Yu, we're getting more damage out of our Flutter Mane, more damage out of our Zapdos. And then we're going to go with the Tailwind route on the Tornadus. So this way we don't have to use a slot for Tailwind on our Zapdos. And then we get 100% Hurricanes because Tornadus is running Rain Dance. So that's actually really, really good. And then this is the Volt Switch Zapdos with the Scarf variant. So that's really, really good. Good pivot option. Amoongus has the Rocky Helmet here rather than the Zapdos. But again, you get redirection support. You get something to play in Trick Room because that's what this is for. And of course, the sashes on the Chi, which makes a lot of sense, right? This is okay. And then this is a bulky Urshifu Rapid Strike, hitting the bump at 156 attack. So again, that's the second benchmark. And again, if you don't know what EV bumps are and you're trying to play competitive Pokemon, make sure you comment in the video description below and ask what are EV bumps. I feel like I ask this in every single video, and I always get a reply, which is good, right? So because we want to teach people as much as possible what are EV bumps. But basically, from what I understand and what was written, this is to calc for the Dazzling Gleam Flutter Mane, which is a very, very worthwhile calc. And then of course, this is another good speed tier with 180 investment over here. But again, this is another way to utilize it. But again, you still see a Fire Water Grass Core with Zapdos, and then your 2 flex options, right? Flutter Mane plus a filler over here. Then if you go into this one got 7th place. And this is another similar concept with Zapdos, Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Heatran. So again, still revolving around that same core, right? Well, I meant to say that same core, but more or less, now you have the Cleaver, which is actually very, very interesting. I wish I could pull up the paste over here. I think I do have it over here. Let me just bring it up in a second. This will only take a moment. Yeah, where is the Cleaver? I think I had it here on the side of my... Oh, here it is. Yep. Okay, we got it. Right over here. All right, so this one, yep, this is it. Yeah, so basically, looking at the EVs here, so the Rillaboom is actually Citrus Berry rather than Assault Vest, and it has Drum Beating for speed control, rather than the Wood Hammer. That's still pretty good. And this is a Goggles Urshifu, so again, they're probably annoyed about Amoongus. Maybe because of the Rocky Helmet shenanigans, so this is their way of getting around that. Okay, the Screen Tail has Rock Tomb for speed control, Encore and Disable. It's interesting how there's a Scream Tail over here, but Cleaver, setting hazards, of course, with Stone Axe, cool Pokemon, and then of course Heatran, just rounding it out with the leftover set. So Zapdos back to having Tailwind over here, of course, and again, this is the bulky Zapdos variant, and this investment, by the way, this is for Chien-Pao Ice Sprinter, which is the same kind of spread physical investment that we're going to be using on our Zapdos, so stay tuned for that. But from here we have a little bit of variance in our EV spreads, but I did like this idea of being able to survive the Chien-Pao. I think it makes a lot of sense, so stay tuned for that. But really, really cool team. Okay, oh, that's the same team. So then we also have Mythos over here, where they were also participating in a tournament. And again, with Mythos, Zapdos with Grimmsnarl here, it makes a lot of sense. Then you have Hisui and Goodra. Goodra and Grimmsnarl are a very, very good combination, because the Goodra can just hide behind the screens and just set up its body presses after those iron defenses that it's using, or in other cases acid armor / shelter. Then from there, it's Arcanine, Rillaboom, and Iron Bundle, okay, rather than Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Heatran. So a different kind of Fire Water Grass Core. But again, now you get an Intimidate option. Now you get a little bit more speed control with the bundle, and then the Rillaboom is still the Assault Vest variant. So super cool team as well. Then over here, in first place, a winning Zapdos team, along with that other Cleaver team right here. Then we have Lisiado here. So let's take a look at this. Again, still using the Grimmsnarl concept. Rillaboom and Urshifu are here. No Heatran because they're saying I like the Hisui and Goodra variant. So we're going to partner that up again. And then over here is the Ursaluna. So this way, just in case I have to play the Trick Room game, I can utilize the Ursaluna in that matchup. And then, potentially hide behind these screens over here or the Goodra. But either way, what this team is saying is I'm going to set up screens. I'm going to hide behind the bulk. And then I'm just going to deal, damage behind that bulk. I'm going to set up the Goodra behind the screens. And you can't break it, right? Because it's Hisui and Goodra, right? Unless you try and taunt it, but again, that's a discussion for another day. So really, really cool idea here. And again, it's a Rocky Helmet Zapdos with Thunderbolt, Hurricane, Protect, and Roost. No Tailwind necessary here because they're saying, I'm just going to rely on bulk. I don't need speed control. I have Thunder Wave already. That's good enough for me, okay? And then from there, just deal all that damage behind all that bulk. So that's what they're saying over here. I think there was another Zapdos team. No, I believe. Oh, well, this one actually was a cool idea from Silver Spoon. So I know there's only a 3-3 result, but it's still a good idea. Again, Tornadus Zapdos. So this way you can run Tailwind You know, so this way you don't have to run your own Tailwind on your Zapdos. Still Rocky Helmet, still with Roost and Protect option. I like that a lot. Urshifu here with Flutter Mane. I like this 4. And then what they're saying is we're going to also throw in Cresselia and Ursaluna for a Trick Room mode. Okay, you know, makes a lot of sense, of course, you know, so this way you don't have to use like substitute Heatran or substitute Flutter Mane. You can do this route as well. But by the way, there is imprisoned Trick Room on this Flutter Mane over here with the Focus Sash, so that's an interesting idea. But again, you can kind of see some similarities in how you want to play the Zapdos. Do you want Tornadus? That's question number 1. Or do you want Grimmsnarl? And what kind of Fire, Water, Grass core are you going to slap onto your Zapdos? Okay, you have to ask yourself those kinds of questions. And then from there, they will guide the rest of your team building. But again, either way, you get some good results depending on how you want to do it. I'm just showing you different variances on what you can utilize in terms of your Zapdos team. I think there was also another one in the Nido tour that I kind of skipped over. And I kind of want to go back to it. Let me see. Was it the Nido tour? Let's see, I think it was also here where, oh yeah, this is another cool one from Solidus. Yeah, this is the one that I wanted. So another 6 and 3 result. This one is the Dragonite Chien-Pao with the Assault Vest, Heatran, and Amoongus here. So what this is saying is, okay, I don't need Flutter Mane. I do like Urshifu. By the way, this is a Black Glasses Urshifu, right? Urshifu Dark. And then what they're saying here is because I'm foregoing the Rillaboom but still want grass coverage, I'm going to get my grass coverage from Terra Blast, Terra Grass, Heatran, okay, and go Assault Vest on the Heatran, okay, so this way, now I have 4 attacks, of course. It's an interesting idea. We still keep Amoongus with the Rocky Helmet. The Zapdos actually has goggles here rather than the helmet, but again, of course, also has Tailwind, and then the 3 other standard moves, and then Dragonite, Chien-Pao, you already know what these guys do, right? Of course. Really, really cool team. Again, another very simple way of building it, right? Again, if you want, I feel like Urshifu has to come here in a lot of these teams. It's just too good not to run, whether it's, you know, the dark variant or the Urshifu water. I think it's really, really good. Up to you if you want to use Amoongus or Rillaboom, okay? But either way, I feel like Urshifu is almost a must in this kind of format. But anyway, those are all the different Zapdos teams that you can try and utilize. So hopefully I gave you different ideas. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our Zapdos and go over there and see what we want in terms of how we want to build it. Oh, yeah, I clicked that wrong one. All right, here we are. Now we're back in Showdown. Okay, so we're back here and we're back with the original 4. So we're just going to build around this core. And I decided to go the Tornadus route, right? So I want speed control on the Tornadus. So this way I don't have to use that slot on my Zapdos. So now what we can do is say, all right, this is the Tailwind. So we have Thunderbolt, Hurricane, and Roost. And then very simply, Protect. Very, very simple Zapdos build. And I like Protect on Zapdos. And now what we're saying here is with Rain Dance, the Urshifu is going to do a lot of damage in the rain. And at the same time, we're going to have 100% accurate Hurricane. So really, really cool idea in terms of adding Tornadus to a team like this. Then from here, of course, Bleak Wind Storm. Yep, there it is. And then for a little bit of speed control, how about Icy Wind, man? You know, just for like the mirror matchup, I think this makes a lot of sense. And then of course the Covert Cloak with Terra Ghost. We'll do all the Terra options at the end, you know, once we add everything. But again, Tailwind and Icy Wind. So basically in the mirror matchup against the other Tornadus teams, we can click the Icy Wind. So this way, if they go for their Tailwind first, then we can just click Icy Wind. And then whatever their partner is, will slow them down, even if they have their own Covert Cloak, okay? Which they're not going to get a speed drop, which is, by the way, why you also really want Covert Cloak. So this way you're not susceptible to an Icy Wind. But at the same time, usually their partner is another relatively fast option that you want speed control for. So this way, if we're able to go for our Icy Wind while they go for Tailwind, next turn we can go for our Tailwind. And then we get an extra turn at the end because we're able to stagger our Tailwind over theirs, right? So I do like Icy Wind for that reason. All right, and then from there, I feel like you just slap on Flutter Mane over here. And this will be our substitute Flutter Mane in essence, right? So this is substitute and protect. Because what I really want on this Heatran here is a Life Orb set. And I really like steel coverage on Heatran. I think it does a lot into this format, especially against like Grimmsnarl stuff. And even like opposing Flutter Mane teams. I feel like Heatran can definitely come into those matchups and do a lot of damage. All right, so I like this idea. And then the substitute Flutter Mane is, again, for our Trickle matchup, where we can just potentially stall out their TR turns, right? And we also have Fake Out here with the Rillaboom, which helps a lot. All right, so for Zapdos, we already have the set here. I feel like Terra Steel is really, really nice, because, again, with Zapdos being weak to Ice and being weak to Rock, the Steel Terra type is pretty good against those. You're able to resist, so you might as well. Then the Heatran, of course, Terra Fire, Terra Grass, and then just the standard 3 attacks: Heat Wave, Flash Cannon, and then Earth Power. Really, really good ground coverage and protect. Now, this is a harder hitting Heatran, which is still pretty good. I like it a lot. But again, in terms of our speed tier, I'll show you what we're going to choose in a second. But yeah, the idea is like, okay, as long as you have a tier that you want to outspeed, then from there, that'll guide the rest of your EV spreads. All right, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. But let's just do the rest of the team. Urshifu, I really like Focus Sash on Urshifu. I feel like it gives you a lot of different ways of play, and it gives you certain outs, right? Because you have that sash, so you can afford to be aggressive and not have to like play conservative, because you can just say, oh, I have a sash, I can just get off this attack now and then, protect next turn, potentially bait out a priority move, and then, finish the game off from there, right? But very standard set here in terms of what we want out of our Urshifu. I do like Terra Grass though, just for, again, getting around Amoongus. But most times you won't really Terra the Urshifu, but sometimes you do. Rillaboom, again, Grassy Surge, to set up the terrain, removing DD's terrain, might I add. I like Terra Fire, so this way you can't get burned. You resist an opposing fire type attack. I like Assault Vest, of course. Fake Out, for positional sake, helps you set up your Tailwind if you need to. U-turn, pivot out into a more aggressive option. Wood Hammer, it's your strongest grass move, and knock off here. If you like drum beating here for the speed control, feel free to go for that. Otherwise, the Wood Hammer is just really, really good damage. Tornadus we already did. Flutter Mane, again, this is just Moonblast and Shadow Ball. Really, really good into Cresselia games, which I feel like you always want on your team. Right? You always need like a good Cresselia check, not just like Taunt Tornadus. I don't think that's enough, which we don't even have here, by the way. So we definitely need a Flutter Mane for that reason. And then just boost our energy on this side. If you want to slap on Life Orb here and then just put leftovers here, you can definitely do that as well. But I like booster energy Flutter Mane. I think it makes a lot of sense. You can go Terra Fairy for a little bit more damage, or you can go like a defensive Terra. I went with Terra Water just to be able to resist this super effective steel damage. But there's lots of different Terras you can put on your Flutter Mane, I should say. Really up to you. If you want that offensive Terra, go Terra Fairy. If you want a defensive Terra, Water's a pretty good one. You could even do Terra Steel, so this way against opposing fairy type attacks, same idea. Neutralize also the ghost type attacks that Flutter Mane doesn't like originally without the Terra options, right? So this is the 6 in terms of the movesets, items, and Terra options. So now we'll just go ahead and start creating these EV spreads. Okay, starting from Zapdos here. So again, step 1 in creating your EV spreads, you always got to pick your speed tier. And just by the look of the team and just understanding what's around in the meta, I want to use my Icy Wind here. I want to utilize the fact that after an Icy Wind, I want to outspeed, max speed, modest Flutter Mane, right? And that's at 187. So basically, you just do a little bit of quick math here. What's 187 divided by 1.5? It comes out to about 124.6, aka 125 is what you need to outspeed. So you can just bring your number up here to 125 like this. But I wanted to be able to speed creep some of those speed creepers, so I just pushed it to about 128 here, okay? Then from there, I just want to go first bump here in the special attack stat. Again, you can see where the 163 goes up by 2 points to 165. So here's again what we call the first EV bump. The second one is another 80 EVs at 116, okay? And then the third one is another 80 EVs again at 196, right? This is where the stat increases by 2 points. But I don't want all this attack. I just want to be a bulky Rocky Helmet Zapdos. So I'm just going to settle for something like this. Okay, then you can see I have 408 EVs left. So I want to survive a Ice Spinner from a Chien-Pao, right? So how much defensive bulk am I going to need there? So basically this was the set. You just needed about 191. So I went to 204 here. Basically, this is going to optimize for sand chip damage from Tyranitar, and then from there, you just dump the rest into bulk like this, and that'll do it, right? So here's the damage calc. All right, here's Chien-Pao. Again, 82 to 98.4%. So again, Jolly 252. we're able to survive that. But I wanted to do a very similar thing, but just like, you know, just re-optimize the spreads a little bit. Again, this is still like very good, but I like the old one that the other player was using, where it was 236, 172, and it's essentially the same calc. So I'll just show you what that is. But it's basically the same thing, where you're just able to survive this Ice Spin. It actually does a tiny bit more, but that's okay. At the end of the day, you're still getting a little bit more HP, and that'll also help against like some special attacks at the end of the day. So that's also relatively fine. But this is the set that I was using when I was using the Zapdos team. Heatran over here. So basically, again, the speed tier that I have chosen is to go to two. You can go right here, where it was 139. Again, under Tailwind, you're just going to outspeed Regieleki, but hey, you know, other Pokemon are going to be going for that too. So let's go with the speed creep war, and then just speed creep them, and then just do this max speed. Okay, optimize for the Life Orb chip damage for ending in a 9. You always want to end in a 9 when you have that Life Orb item. So this way you don't pass the threshold for taking extra 1 HP, you know, per that Life Orb chip. So we just put it at 169. You can put it at 179 here if you want for a little bit more bulk, but I just left that at 169. I feel like that was okay. Then from there, you just put 1 point here, 1 point there, and then just dump the rest in your special attack stat like this, right? This is all you really want your Heatran to do. Do a bunch of damage, be fast under Tailwind, outspeed Eleki, click Earth Power, and KO it, right? That's Heatran's job there. And also deals like significant damage to Flutter Mane. Urshifu, this is the easiest one. It's a Focus Sash Pokemon. We're just going to go 252, 252. Nothing else needs to say about it. But I will go 176 on this Urshifu just because it'll optimize for the Grassy Terrain recovery. You'll get a perfect 11 HP. And how do I know that? Because if you just do a little bit of quick math, 176 divided by, what is it, 16, right? That'll get you a perfect 11. Whereas if I went here with 175, now it's 10.9 something. That'll bring it down to 10 points recovery. You don't want that. So just put it in the HP here. And again, settle for that benchmark. All right, here's the Jolly Nature, of course. The Rillaboom. Okay, so I have decided, again, I'm going to go Adamant Nature. So this is where my EV bumps will be. But at the end of the day, in terms of my speed tier, again, 112. You know, after a +1, or in other words, a -1 for the Tornadus, I'll able to outspeed the base 100s. But then there's other Pokemon like, you know, Garchomp and the other Landorus that I want to outspeed. So you can just push this a little bit and just go to 168, right? Because then if you just do 114 times 1.5, that'll get you to 171. That'll outspeed the Garchomp. So that's really what I wanted out of that. Then from there, you know, you can just go to 132 HP investment. 192 will optimize the Grassy Terrain. If you want to max this to go to 207, you're just short. 208 is what you need. But, you know, at the very least, because I'm just going to 192, I have extra EVs to play with in terms of my defensive bulk and my special defense bulk. But I just went to 196. Again, for the third benchmark here, 187. Again, you just go up by 2 points here. And then 112, I just pretty much just split this between the defense and special defense. I wasn't really calculating for anything major at the moment. So I just went right here to 98, and then the rest just went here into defense like this, right? Just a little bit of evening out, right? Once I figure out, is there a damage calc I want out of Rillaboom, I'll probably change the spread. But until then, this is still fine. Okay, Tornadus. This one, again, I went with 180 speed investment. This is a very popular set. Some of them, they go to 172 to get them to 168, which outspeeds a base 100 Pokemon at max speed. But we're gonna go 1 point above it, just to go to 180, and then from there, again, just having this much. This is normally the bump if you're Modest Nature, but what this investment will do, if you go to 220, something like this, right, and then just dump the rest in defense, this will survive the Dragonite E-Speed. Okay, without the Chien-Pao, Adamant 252 choice band. Okay, and at the same time, it'll also survive the Urshifu Rapid Strikes, Surging Strikes, right? Rapid Strike, Surging Strikes. Okay, then from there, Flutter Mane, another bulky set is what we want. So let's go with the Modest Nature one. Again, we want more damage out of our Flutter Mane. We'll still go the bump here, 1 point in the special defense. It's already very bulky in that department. And then just go, we'll go with the older, bulkier Flutter Mane set this time around. Again, 171 here. So again, I don't speed time my Tornadus, which is really, really good. And then at the same time, I get a special attack boost because I am modest nature. I can outspeed Garchomp, which is important. And then from here, you can just dump the rest here. You can just go to 159. That'll optimize, you know, again, the sand chip damage, and then just dump the rest into defense like this, right? This is still totally fine. Or if you want, you can do this, right? And then just do this, right? You know, that's also okay as well. But I like this one. I like a little bit more HP. You know, it gets me a little bit more value with my substitute plays in that end, right? So I believe this is it. This is how we like the team here. You know, again, I want to put the Tornadus over here, right? So this way we get a nice... oh, that's the wrong team. Okay, but this is the squad. Okay, with Zapdos Torn, again, the whole idea is the speed controls on the Tornadus this time. We get Icy Wind as well as a secondary, you know, speed control move. Both the Zapdos and the Torn are relatively bulky. Same with the Rillaboom. Urshifu is Sash. Heatran is not as bulky. It's more aggressive with the Life Orb. The Flutter Mane has good bulk here. It also has Substitute here as our way of stalling out potential Trick Room turns. So it's a very standard Zapdos hyper offensive team that's, you know, using a lot of standard, solid, consistent options, right? And again, I showed you some other options, you know, with some of those other teams. So if you like any of those options, feel free to use those options, right? And build your own Zapdos team with those. I'm just giving like a suggested team. You know, again, just providing ideas for you guys. So we'll just try this out. We'll play one quick game and get you guys out of here. Okay, yeah, so this was a good one. So this is the Sneasel Rillaboom combination. And there is the Cresselia Ursaluna, of course, and there's a Grimmsnarl too. So, and of course, Galarian Moltres. I like this team a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I do like this team. And Galarian Moltres is one of my favorite Pokemon, you know, just to be able to use it competitively. So basically, what he's saying is I'm going to rely on bulk from the Grimmsnarl and, you know, potentially set up the Moltres behind Nasty Plot, and then, or also try and set up the Ursaluna behind screens and just click Facade on everything to death, right? That's what they're saying. So my first thoughts is Flutter Mane looks pretty good here in games like this, just because you have pressure against the Moltres and the Cresselia and the Grimmsnarl, right, with the Flutter Mane. And then with the Rillaboom, you know, and the what's that thing called? The Sneasler, the Zapdos looks pretty good here, and also into the Moltres. So Zapdos actually not too bad here, right, in essence. And then from there, I like our own Rillaboom just for having something for that Ursaluna. Okay, so that's also pretty good. And then Urshifu is also, you know, Urshifu is Urshifu, right? You got to bring it. It just punch things. All right, it just punches things. So let's go ahead and play this. So he leads the Moltres and the Grimmsnarl. Very, very standard lead there. I'm going to go with Rillaboom, and I'm going to go with Flutter Mane over here. You know, and again, I led the Flutter Mane just in case he wanted to lead the Cresselia and try and set up Trick Room. I wanted to set up my substitute. So this guy is saying, okay, look, I'm going to try and set up a light screen and, you know, maybe set up my Moltres behind that light screen. I'm going to bait you to click Moonblast. I'm going to make you, you know, deal more than half my health, but not too much damage, because my Citrus Spray is going to activate it. I'm going to get Berserk, and I can potentially go for Nasty Plant, and from there, just potentially sweep you, just because, you know, you already activated my Berserk, and then I can just get a little bit of recovery from the berry. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and fake out that Grimmsnarl and not let that happen. And if the Moltres wants to do, you know, some kind of aggressive play into either the Rillaboom or Flutter Mane, sure, but I want to set up the sub, at least for the time being. So this way, if he wants to try and get up screens, I'm going to take the opportunity to set up my substitute, right? So he actually switches out into the Cresselia, which is actually fine by me, protects the Moltres. So that's fine by me. So now I'm just going to get off a free sub. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it basically was a free sub, and now the Cresselia is in a little bit of trouble here. It's somewhat of an awkward position. Again, the Moltres protected. I could kill it right now, but he either switches his out or maybe just goes for a defensive Terra. Either way, I can't let this Cresselia stay here for any longer than it needs to. It's just going to heal the Moltres over time, and I don't want that. So what we're going to say is we're just going to go for the Crest right here, right now. So here's the Shadow Ball. Good damage there into the Crest. U-turn, able to pick up the KO, so good job Rillaboom, serving its purpose. We're going to Zapdos here, and Fiery Wrath makes our, you know, breaks our sub, and a little bit chip damage into the Zapdos, but all in all, good turn there. Poison Terra is a little bit annoying. I feel like that's like one of the best options here. This is where like you kind of miss Heatran, you know, in that sense, but, you know, of course, we did not bring it. But this looks like Grimmsnarl is probably just going to return here, and it does. So, you know, again, he can set up Light Screen. We're not going to touch the Moltres. We don't want to activate Berserk. I just want to chip. I just want to get this Grimmsnarl off the board, just like I did with the Crest. So there's the light screen. Let's go with the Grimmsnarl, and let's just remove it immediately. And again, you see how he's being like so passive. There's the nasty plot, by the way. So again, it's been 3 turns. He already lost 2 Pokemon. We still have all 4 of our options. You know, he's taking a lot of time trying to set up the Moltres and the screens. You know, it cost him 2 KOs. And in the end, that's actually how we won the game. Just because we were able to overwhelm, you know, whatever he had left. Okay, so here's the Sneasler. So the Sneasler gets the Grassy Seed boost. All right, and for some reason, it's not unburdened. So he doesn't get the speed boost. So that might have been a mistake, you know, in the Team Builder and Showdown. Or maybe it was actually Poison Point. I'm not entirely sure. But I know this has Fake Out. So I don't want to, like, do that. So at the very least, I'm going to stall that. Okay, so he actually protects the Sneasler, which is actually a really, really good play. I tried to just get some chip damage on the Sneasler, but Fire Rat does a lot of damage, especially into our Zapdos here. So I'm just going to protect the Zapdos right now. He goes for Dire Claw, okay? And I wanted to try and get off the sub here, you know, just try and get a little bit of longevity here. Maybe I could have attacked the Sneasler here and just left the Moltres, you know, for the Rillaboom and the Urshifu. So that could have been a play that maybe I would have taken back, but I didn't want the Flutter Mane to die immediately. That's why I went with the sub, you know, at the very least. Okay, so he protects the Sneasler this time. That's fine. I kind of read that, so this is why I went for Shadow Ball over here and a little bit of Thunderbolt. That's very good because now I don't. He's still above 50%, which is what I thought he would end up being because I know he has a light screen. And I know my Zapdos isn't like super aggressive in the special attack, so I wanted to chip it and not break the Berserk, right? But still put it in position where, like, you know, Rillaboom and or Urshifu can potentially finish off the Moltres. And there's still a Sneasler here on the board, so that's always interesting there. So I'm gonna lose most options here. There goes the Zapdos here, but here's the Urshifu. So I'm in a decent spot here. Now, again, I do think he has Citrus Ray, which is why the Surging Strike does not pick up here. So he goes for Dire Claw. I could have protected the Flutter Mane that turn potentially, but I didn't. And there's the Berry activating, right? So, but I have to do this, right? I have to get the Moltres down at some point. And then there's the Ursash. But this is, again, why, you know, Focus Sash Urshifu is so good. And it just allows you for positions like this. And now, you know, they can't protect against the Fake Out. Like, if he wants to, sure. But again, this is Urshifu. I'm faster than the Moltres. It's going to go down. I'm just going to force the 2-on-1 against the Sneasler. And that'll be my end game, right? So there's the Fake Out, all right? And here is the Surging Strike. So we get rid of the Moltres, finally, at long last. And now, basically, you know, we still have our Terra option, right? So, you know, just to resist the the Dire Claw, I'm going to go Terra Fire Rillaboom. And Rillaboom should be able to clean up here just because Wood Hammer does so much damage. He can't really break me. And we still have the Urshifu on the field, right? You know, I could just Aqua Jet him for a little bit more damage, but you know, it's just not all that much. But we should be able to win this, but he ends up just forfeiting anyway because he understands what's coming here in terms of what the Rillaboom can do. All right, but that's it. So Flutter Mane is really, really good, especially against a passive team like that. And you have to be able to punish, you know, sometimes some of these passive teams because they just take too long to set up. And then from there, you're just able to overwhelm them with your aggressive options, right? I do think there was one play where I could have taken back, you know, with the Flutter Mane potentially. But in the end, as long as you got these two guys, the Urshifu and the Rillaboom, you're kind of always going to be in a really, really good spot just because Fake Out and Surging Strikes combination is so good. All right, but hey, the Zapdos team works. So let's go back into the Pokepaste over here. And so this way we can just get you guys out of here. But overall, I like the team. I think it's very solid. As far as like a starting point is concerned, if you want to use this in a best of 3 tour, yeah, sure, go for it. But, you know, again, if you are interested in team building for Regulation D and you're still struggling with some of your team building ideas, feel free to sign up on the channel with the tier 3 sub. Again, if you look at the link in the video description, if you look at the link in the comment section, the same link, it'll be a link that you can click that'll take you to the tier 3 sub. And then from there, just sign up. And then you can message me on Discord. We can plan our session with the Discord call, and then from there get you that team that you need, so this way Regulation D is off to a smooth start for you guys. All right, but that'll be it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.